Good morning, everyone. Just here to discuss our policy, our pursuit policy, and changes in our pursuit policy. I'm up here with the senior executive team and also my chief of staff, Commander Garcia, who will translate for us in Spanish. Come on in, Councilwoman. Yep, see, yep. So, first thing I want to say is those members in our community who have died in police pursuits, just want to pray for their families. I'll go over a few of the major points of our new policy, but the department places the highest value on life and safety of its officers and the public at large. This policy is intended to minimize the risk of injuries to officers and the public. As required by department policy and state law, an officer may engage in a vehicle pursuit only if the officer determines in good faith, under the circumstances, the need to immediately apprehend the suspect outweighs the need, to immediately apprehend the suspect outweighs the risk of harm to the officer or the public in engaging in the pursuit. If the risk of injury outweighs the need to immediately apprehend the suspect, officers and supervisors alike shall terminate the pursuit. Year to date, we have over 1,300 pursuits. That's roughly a 26% increase compared to last year. HPD averages 5 pursuits per day. The average of the pursuit is a little over 6 minutes. In my opinion, that's too many. We need to be smarter, still proactive, and intentional in fighting crime in our city. We should not pursue every vehicle that flees from us. We don't have to give up the search of the suspect when we terminate the pursuit. That should continue. I've asked for help last week at a press conference, and I'm going to do it again. As our criminal justice system, everyone needs to take an additional look, a more critical look. When these individuals get in a vehicle that's 4,000 pounds, have no regard for anybody, and flees. Right now, it's a state jail felony. That's the lowest felony in our state, okay? So I need judges, I need lawmakers, let's all, and I'm not pointing fingers. Everybody need to do their part, but to me, it's the same as when you go out and you shoot a gun into a crowd. It's no difference. The most significant policy change of our new policy change, we will now prohibit pursuits of suspects when the only possible offense is a Class C, also a traffic or misdemeanor warrant, or a non-violent misdemeanor warrant. However, supervisors can authorize a pursuit of suspects in a vehicle when there's an ongoing investigation. Also, if a vehicle has stolen license plates on it, no plates, or plates that belong to another vehicle, with the authorization of a supervisor, officers can pursue that vehicle. Why is that? We know for a fact in this city, and let me talk about some of the challenges of our city. Approximately 700 square miles, a little bit less of it, wide open. But we know for a fact that these criminals, the violent criminals in our city, steal cars daily to commit violent crimes, carjackings, robberies, drive-by shootings. We know it for a fact. So I just want to be clear to everybody, and especially to the suspects, as we move through this policy. Nobody's giving up our right to police. You got the wrong chief, the wrong leaders, and the wrong police department if you think that's what it is. It's not. It's just us being smarter. Other highlights I want to hit on that's new to the policy. We have added tactics aimed at stopping the pursuit before they even begin, to the extent possible. Re-emphasizing on stopping techniques to bring pursuits to a quicker end. There will be additional training for officers and supervisors on both policy and tactics. And this is the first time today that I'm mentioning tactics going forward. And when we get to the questions, I will not discuss tactics. And let me be just honest with that. I will not give you the playbook of our officers. Suspects already got the upper hand on them, and they listen to the news media as well. So we will not discuss tactics. And when you see the policy that is probably, we sent it out 20, 30 minutes ago, I think, to both the department and also to our media friends. You will see those tactics are redacted in there, and that will remain that way. My command staff and executive team, our assistant chiefs, we've, over the last month, a little bit more, maybe a month and a half, we visited every patrol station, each and every shift, to discuss not only our pursuits, but other things, other critical incidents, and we'll continue to do that. There's also additional layers of command and control of pursuits, which includes lieutenants, just to oversee and make sure we better manage the pursuits. Let me be clear, and sometimes people say policy, policy, policy. Good policy, bad policy, okay policy. People have to abide by the policy. And make no mistake about it, we're going to hold everybody accountable. If you grossly violate this policy, we're going to hold you accountable. And that is the message that we're sending out. Over this week, just this week, we started having training sessions. We did 3, and I think we got 1 more and possibly 1 next week. I am personally, and our leadership team, personally is talking to each and every classified supervisor in this department about our policy, about leadership, and about accountability, and that will continue. Again, doesn't mean when we choose not to pursue that we're giving up on the suspect of bringing him in justice or him or her into justice. We're not. We can be smart and we can arrest them at a later date. Also, I wanted to state before I turn it over for translations for a commander, we'll establish here in the very near future a dashboard. Whereas we're giving out information regarding our pursuits, I want monthly updates on it. The public should know where we are at all times. So should every member in our department. So in concluding, we're going to continue to do what we need to do in this city to keep our citizens safe, in pursuits, away from pursuits, anything that we do. And this policy, it's a critical policy. Just as use of force, these policies are fluent. And anytime that we can do something to enhance safety in our city, we're going to do it. Commander.
Thank you, Chief. Buenos días. Como acaba de decir el jefe de la policía, hoy estamos aquí para hablar sobre el reglamento de persecución de automóviles. Antes que nada, el jefe y todos nosotros queremos recordar a las familias que por cualquier motivo fueron lastimadas o algún familiar falleció a consecuencia de una persecución. Así que vamos a mantenerlos en nuestras oraciones. El departamento valora en lo más alto la vida y la seguridad de los policías y del público. Este reglamento tiene el intento de minimizar el riesgo de heridas a los policías y al público. Como es requerido por las leyes del Estado de Texas, un policía puede comenzar una persecución de vehículo únicamente cuando el policía determina que las circunstancias y el riesgo es balanceado en contra de permitir que este individuo huya de la policía. Un supervisor tiene el derecho de terminar en cualquier momento las persecuciones automovilísticas. En lo que va de este año, tenemos menos de 1,300 persecuciones de automóvil. 38 de esos todavía están siendo revisadas por los supervisores. También en lo que va del año ha habido 1,208 persecuciones, que es un aumento de 26% sobre el año pasado. El Departamento de Policía tiene un promedio de 5 persecuciones por día y también un promedio de 6 minutos de duración en esas persecuciones. En la opinión del jefe, son demasiadas y necesitamos reducir ese número. No tenemos que perseguir a todas las personas que viven de nosotros, pero eso no significa que no vamos a perseguir a los criminales. Las cortes y otras entidades involucradas deben de ayudar a que se resuelva este problema. Algunas de los puntos más importantes sobre este nuevo reglamento: el departamento ahora prohíbe la persecución de automóviles cuando la única ofensa es una de la clase C, o cuando hay una orden de arresto a causa de una multa de tráfico o de una orden municipal, o cuando hay una orden de arresto por un crimen menor que no sea violento. Los supervisores sí pueden autorizar la persecución si hay una investigación continua. También queremos decirles que vamos a perseguir a los vehículos que tengan placas robadas o que no tengan placas o que tengan las placas de otro vehículo. Y la razón por esto es porque nosotros sabemos que estos vehículos probablemente participaron o van a participar en crímenes violentos. Otros puntos que queremos subrayar: estamos incrementando el entrenamiento de nuestros policías con técnicas para detener automóviles que van a ayudar a que sean menos las heridas y los choques en estas persecuciones. Tanto los policías como los supervisores van a recibir este tipo de entrenamiento. El jefe de la policía y todos los jefes, todo su equipo de liderazgo han hablado con los supervisores de todo el departamento y les han dicho cuáles son las expectaciones, qué es lo que esperamos de ellos de hoy en adelante en lo que se refiere a las persecuciones automovilísticas. Sin embargo, no vamos a hablar sobre las tácticas de este nuevo reglamento. Las tácticas no las vamos no vamos a comentar sobre ellas. Hay diferentes niveles de supervisión en cuestión de este tipo de persecución, incluyendo a los tenientes que están en el campo. Todo el mundo va a ser responsable de sus acciones cuando participan en este tipo de situación. Continuamente vamos a estar evaluando estas persecuciones y van a ser terminadas cuando se vea que el riesgo es demasiado. Además, no vamos a dejar de buscar a estos individuos. Si terminamos la persecución y tenemos suficiente información, vamos a arrestar a estos individuos, los vamos a encontrar y los vamos a arrestar cuando sea conveniente para nosotros y cuando sea seguro para la comunidad. El jefe acaba de anunciar que va a haber una especie de tablero, una página en el internet donde vamos a divulgar, vamos a compartir la información de estas persecuciones, del número de persecuciones con el público. En conclusión, este nuevo reglamento no va a impedir que haya choques o que haya accidentes, pero esperamos que estos cambios en nuestro reglamento van a hacer menor el número de choques y van a minimizar el número de heridas al público y a los policías. Muchas gracias.
Thank you, Commander.
Yes, sir.
Okay, before we open up for questions, I want to also thank our mayor, Mayor Turner, and he's been apprised and involved in this process. And a lot of people are saying, well, you guys are just making a move because of a few critical incidents or whatnot. The fact of it is we've been looking at our policy for months. We've been talking about our pursuit policy for months. There are several professional law enforcement organizations around the nation who are looking at and going to recently put out, I think, some pursuit policies, some recommendations. I've spoken to some of them, and their policies should come out, and a lot of this is kind of reflective of that as well. So I also want to, we have a new reporter in town, Andrea Ball from the Chronicle. And I know she's not here today. I thought she would be, but very respectful communication with her and all of our media. I just want to thank, and I think this is important. I thank each and every one of you, what you do every day. Chief Fenner is probably the most transparent chief I know in HPD history, and one of the most transparent, and I'll continue to be that way. So I always welcome conversations in ways in which we can get better. And I want to thank y'all all. She asked the question, and why I'm bringing up her name, you know, are y'all doing some things because of my reports? No, we were working on it long before. But I always appreciate and respect good reporters that help us be better. So just want to get that out the way. But we'll open up for questions.
If the situation fits the criteria for a police pursuit, can you talk about the expectations of the officer during that chase? For example, if there's a red light, should the officer be slowing down?
At a police pursuit, running code 1, that is our policy, that you clear intersection. And I'll be honest with you, Brooke, that's what's frustrating to our leadership and the men and women who do a good job every day. Sometimes the officers get emotional. A lot of times I can tell you in these critical incidents, very young, but once you go through our training and our policy, you need to abide by that. You should always clear an intersection, running hot, which is lights and sirens on, or not. Clear the intersection. That's our training.
How are you making sure you hold the officers accountable to that? We just covered a story in late August on Beach Nut about a young 27-year-old woman who was hurt during a police chase, and surveillance footage shows the officer not slowing down at the intersection.
It's an active investigation, and as you know, we're well aware of that. And that officer, and I don't want to get ahead of the investigation, but we've all looked at the video, and it's really concerning and disturbing to not only the police chief, but everybody. And I want to be fair to that officer and let that process go. But her and any other officer, if you violate our policy and you grossly violate our policy, you're going to be disciplined, and we'll determine what's appropriate. Okay.
Chief,
Yes.
I know there are numerous lawsuits you probably can't comment on related to chases and how they've ended up. We interviewed a mom who lost her son, not because of the cruiser striking him, but the vehicle that was being pursued, and he didn't make it. What would you say to families who've been concerned about the policy and asking for changes?
I think that as a chief, as a police department, we owe them and everybody else to do whatever we can do. But let's not forget about ultimately, and I don't get backwards and forward. It's just not me. But I want the public and everyone to know, ultimately and primarily, the suspect who chooses to flee, we have to deal with that. Yeah, I get it. We have to put in policies and procedures that the best that we can do to make, but this is not a perfect world. And you got a lot of violent offenders out there who should be locked up in jail. We hadn't really talked about that. That pushes the number of pursuits. The new technology, some of our license plate readers and all, that pushes it. So we have to move with that technology at the same time, police our city. But to those parents and to those family members, I always acknowledge them and their pain and their suffering. And the only thing I can say, I can't bring back a relative, but we can do the best that we can do. But it's going to be based upon everybody working together, our lawmakers, our judges, and everybody, because you got to send a strong message, number one, that this is not tolerated. And there has to be punishment. There has to be accountability for these suspects. And when you can steal a car, you go commit a crime, you run over somebody, or you fleeing from the police and you hit somebody and you kill them, and you out the next day or the same day, that's a problem. And that's a fact. And I'm not the one who blaming people. I'm just saying we got to do something about it.
What percentage of,
I'll get to you next. Go ahead.
what percentage, or I guess, number of pursuits in recent years would have been prohibited under this new policy?
I don't know. I can tell you most of our critical incidents, some officers have been violating policy. So if you remember a few minutes ago, I said good policy, bad policy, okay policy. People have to abide by it. So we are looking at and even getting more intentional in gathering statistics. And we need to do a better job with that. And that's why I asked them a month ago, let's stand up this public-facing dashboard so we can have those facts and statistics readily when you need them.
With the statistics, you said 13.
Let me get her first, Brooke, and then I'll come back over. Go ahead.
The policy used to allow officers to pursue people who are not suspected of any other crimes other than evading law enforcement when they're instructed to stop. Does the new policy, the revised policy, still allow that?
No, I was clear in it. If that alone, okay, if a Class C alone with nothing else, no ongoing investigation, none of the license plates requirements, the officer should not, by this policy, be pursuing that person for just that alone. Okay, go ahead, and then we'll come back.
You said over 1,300 pursuits. Can you tell us how many ended with either death or injury?
Over the last year, I think we had, was it 4? I'll double check those numbers, but I think we've had, this year, it was 4.
Out of the 1,300
Yes.
number?
Yes.
Do you know how many of those injuries were people who were just bystanders, innocent people?
I don't know. I think I need a breakdown of it. I know we had it in 2022, and we'll get this to you a little bit later, but 2022 there was a total of 7 deaths, okay? 4 suspects, 3 citizens, and vehicles. So, and we'll get those other numbers to you sometime today.
What are the repercussions for an officer who does violate the chase policy?
It just depends. We look at it case by case. You got to look at the condition. You got to look at why he was pursuing, what he did right, what he did wrong. So it's not just a blanket that I'm going to throw. You have to look at every critical incident independently, what we can do, what we can learn from it, and what level of accountability we need to hold on the officer.
Can you give any sort of example, like in possibly if it results in a death, for example?
I don't want to speculate on it because we've had some, but I can tell you something. If somebody's at fault or they're in violation and somebody dies or is seriously injured, it's some very stiff discipline, very stiff.
Such as termination?
Yeah. It could be.
You're speaking about accountability and like the dashboard and keeping data. What will be reflected on that dashboard, and how will you be keeping kind of tabs of
We're still working on it, and as soon as we finalize it, we'll get back out and we'll send something out. So a lot of the stuff that you're asking, how many deaths, what was the cause, who died, how many injuries, what was the start, was it a traffic stop, Was it a felony or whatnot? Some of those things and general things that we need to include in there. We have one more over here, I thought. We good? Okay, go ahead.
I know you mentioned that officers have been doing some of the training already, so is this policy active as of today?
Yes, yes, just, I think it went out in the last 30 minutes or so, yeah. Okay?
How is it gonna affect training officers in the academy?
I think that we're always looking for ways to better train. And one thing that I'm going to do, and I started it already, I really think that we should use more videos of not only the wrong things that officers do in pursuits where somebody's getting killed or getting injured, but when officers are doing the right thing. We should do more practical training, more hands-on training, more driving. But we're running a whole lot of cadets through the academy, and you got so much time in an hour. I've talked to my chief, executive chief, who's over the training academy, Chief Hatcher. If we need to, and we probably will, let's start doing overtime. Let's start doing training at nights and the evenings, and that's some of the things that we're going to do. But make no mistake about it, training and just as important is coaching. And establishing the correct culture, okay? It's all right, and I've been saying it for a long time, and definitely all this week and the past weeks. It's all right if we don't pursue a suspect. It's okay if we terminate a pursuit. We can get that suspect later, and we got to continue to hit that home with the younger officers because they signed up to police, and they get emotional, but at the same time, slow them down. Slow down, and we can do it smarter. We can still be intentional. We can be proactive. But let's all get home safely, the officer and the citizens. One more.
Speaking of that, I know you said you want to make sure people know they'll be brought to justice even if a pursuit doesn't take place. Are you going to be changing any of the resources in the police department to find folks that evade police?
We are, I'm pretty confident and pretty pleased with our investigative units. When we get information, and that's a good question that you bring up. People's thinking, and some of our hard charges, our officers, and what I call our meat eaters, they are some very proactive police officers, and they had a concern with Chief. We let them go. You know what's going to happen. We're going to do just like we do with any other investigation. We're going to follow the lead. If we got a license plate, we're going to follow it. Okay. If we have vehicle information, we're going to follow it. And we're going to get them in custody. But, again, it's frustrating when we get them in custody and they write out. And that's just something that is driven by a lot of the backlog, but we got to do better in Houston-Harris County. We do. Yes, last one.
We know that community advocates and even some lawmakers have been raising concerns about this policy for years, certainly since 2018, which was the last time it was revised.
Yeah.
Why are you making these changes now, and why did it take so long?
It's time, but I can tell you one thing. Whatever policy you have, you're not going to get 100% agreement on it. You're really not. You're going to have some on the side. I got people calling already. Chief, you're getting soft on crime. Why y'all changing this? So it goes both ways. And as the chief, I can hear it, and I'm always a good listener. But I'm going to do what I have to when it's necessary to lead and have the safest department that we can, at the same time police what we need to. There is a heck of a lot of violent individuals out there. And I want to say this, and I know we're in a political season, and that's all right. But until we get to the point where we get people in prison who need to be in prison, everything is going to get better. And I'm not talking as somebody from outside of the city. I'm talking about somebody that's born and raised here, been here practically all my life, and been a 33-year servant, just like a lot of us up here. When we do what we need to do as Harris County, Houston-Harris County, we group up and we continue to, crime is going down, but that doesn't, it's no good feeling to a member who lose your family member, okay? It's going down, and we'll continue to push it down, but we got to do even better, and the system as a whole has to do better. So I'm going to end with that, but again, thank y'all. I really appreciate all of the media here in Houston. I really do, and print. Thank you. All right?